when I built this, I wasn't thinking about putting all my cats in here, but it's so perfect to fit them into these little gaps here. So this little area on the stairs here is, I've turned around and assembled 4 different types of cats there. But there's a very good reason why I want these cats. So I had Lady Bex come over and give us a hand trying to find some cats. I got the cats I needed, but then she wanted to get a Tux cat as well. So we went through some mishaps. Mighty High also came over and we tried breeding up a number of cats, and I ended up with a big army of cats. But that was actually good because I needed the cats for my own project. So after helping Lady Bex with transporting her cats through the Nether, which was a bit of an adventure in itself, unfortunately I didn't get too much recording from that bit itself, we then decided that it was time to use these cats in a little project that I had devised for myself. But in order to show that project, I thought we'll start this whole thing off with a time lapse. There we are. We have started working on more of the main base. So our starter base is sort of going to form the north section of our main base. You can see the circles in the ground marking out where the main base is going to be. But this tower is going to be over on one side of the main base. But it's more than just a tower. It's the reason we need the cats. It is going to be our creeper farm as well. So we built that into the base at the bottom there. But we also connected it up here. So we built these little walls you can see I'm just quickly assembling on the screen here. These are based on a design of the cathedral that I built in my last server. So if you've seen those walls there, it's kind of inspired inspired by that, and I'll use a bit of that in this build as well when we're building the main base. But going back to the tower that we just built, yep, as I said, that was a creeper farm. It's based on a design by a guy called Chapman on YouTube. I will link up his tutorial video below. It's a nice little design. It's got about 12 different spawning platforms on there, and then I've made a few little modifications. I put some redstone lamps in there so I can turn the farm on and off as required, and I also included a drop kill chamber. So on the designs, if you see his tutorial, he has them drop into like a water stream and then get killed by lava. But I like the idea of putting them in a drop stream because it just kills them off immediately. As soon as they hit the bottom there, they're dead, and that's it. You don't have to go through the whole burning and being transported. They are just straight off dead. And the reason we need all these creepers being killed is obviously for gunpowder. And as soon as I got some gunpowder, I thought the best thing to do was come down here and have a go at a different type of mining. I call this Dyno-Mining. It's a way of turning around and excavating lots of things underground. So we're directly beneath our base here, and this is where I found free spawners. But while I was digging it out to expose the free spawners, when I had done all my caving and everything else like that, I suddenly realised that these chunks here were actually slime spawn chunks as well. So I thought, what a great opportunity to have 4 different mob farms all in the same location there. Obviously, the spawners only activate when you're within 16 blocks, so we don't even need to put those ones with an on-off switch. But these little spawn chunks down here, these are where the slimes are all spawning up at the bottom there. So if you scroll down here, you can see the little fella there jumping around at the bottom there. But I never got a chance to actually finish this properly. So I started this all off, and we got into here and we started to, you can see here we got the zombie spawner over onto one side here, and then we go through and we got the skeleton spawner. A bit difficult to see because it is all dark and everything underground here, but you have to trust us that they are there as we're going in there. If you're depending on your screen brightness, you might be able to just about make out, but we've got the skeleton spawn there. And set these all up for XP farming as well, especially as we've just had to demolish our gold farm. But you come over here, we've got the spider one as well, got the cave spider. I also need lots of strings, the string's quite handy. But the reason why we never got to finish this, and we'll have to come back to it, is because of this. Yes, this is the Nether, but this isn't the Nether Fortress. This isn't what we were coming out to before. This is a basalt delta, and if we've got a basalt delta on the server, that can only mean one thing: we've updated to 1.16. Yay! Or 1.16.1 anyway. So now that we've got replay mod, now we've got Optifine and everything else is all available for it, we have updated the server to 1.16. Some of the other guys, they went on and did an achievement thing that Lady Bex had organised, and that went. Interestingly, you have to go and watch their videos when they come out. I'd certainly recommend going and checking some of the other guys out. I mean, we always recommend going and checking the other guys out because they all do fantastic videos anyway. But yeah, keep an eye out for that and you'll just see everyone's experiences they've had this week with going into the Delta for the first time. But for ourselves, I just took it tentatively. So this is the first time I've gone into a 1.16 Delta itself, or into the 1.16 Nether itself. So I sort of stepped in first, like dipping a toe in the water, and then once I got a little bit used to it, I put some elytra on and went for a bit of a fly around. And the reason I did that was because there are a couple of things that I was particularly after, and that's this stuff. It's the crimson and the warped biomes, and the warped forest biomes, and I wanted the nylium from them. And the reason I wanted the nylium was because I had an idea in mind. Something to construct that I wanted to be able to do as soon as we hit 1.16, one of my new business ventures. And this is what we built. Now this strange monstrosity off to the side here, you'll have to bear with it, is literally the skeletal version of what is going to be the final product, but it is basically the bare bones. We will make it look prettier in time. There's a lot of things that I built this week that needs a lot of doing up, but it is essentially, as you can see there, it's a fungus blasting chamber. It's a way of getting large amounts of the crimson and warped woods, or stems as they're known, and also getting all the other blocks like the stream lights and everything else like that. And it's quite fun to use. So I thought I'll show how this actually works here, because this is one of my own design that I've been working on. So we come into here, this is the actual chamber itself. You can see we have the sides all protected by water and obsidian, so that any blasts don't actually destroy anything. And this I'm quite proud of. This is using water mechanics to create a doorway. So this doorway is only 2 blocks high. You can walk straight through. It does slow you down slightly as you go through because you're going through water, but otherwise the water sits perfectly in that little column there and stops any blasts going through. You can put TNT right next to it and it won't destroy anything on the other side of the doorway. Very handy. Then coming into here, you can see these raised blocks here. These are our planting blocks. Now, as you may be aware, if you've been looking up the fungus mechanics, that sometimes they will lose their nylium when you grow fungus off them. But all you need to do is just bone meal the block, because all the blocks around them are of the type right nylium, and it will just turn them back into the right thing. And then we can put our fungus on top and grow the fungus up using bone meal. And this is why this blast chamber is so tall. Is, as you can see, this is a great example of like all the different heights that fungus can turn up at. So we got some really tall ones, some really short ones. And then the other thing I do is I go around and bone meal the ground. Now, when I experimented with this on my test server when I did a little play test server off to the side. I created on the side of it along those shaking farms, very much similar to our flower farm. But I realised that actually just to get the fungus we need to power it, all you need to do is just bone meal the floor there a couple of times and you get enough fungus anyway. So I might put some automatic dispensers under there that does that automatically for us, so we don't even need to manually hit it with bone meal, but that's an option. What we do then is we take some water elevators up the side and we come to this, the control wall. We hit a button here and it unlocks the TNT, so the TNT is now able to be fired. But it does a couple of other things as well, which we'll demonstrate in a moment. But we'll talk about the chamber, and it has these water walls coming down. And I did a lot of experimenting with the water mechanics to ensure that we had a way of creating an enclosed chamber, that we had no fear of TNT detonating anything on the outside. So you can see there, we got these trapdoors, but they don't get blasted because they count as being waterlogged. And when we hit the button at the top there, you see that the planting blocks retract and the water scoots over the top of them. And this does two things. First of all, it means that anything that drops from these fungi when we blow them up will always drop down into this water stream. And secondly, it also protects all the nylium at the bottom there, including the planting blocks, from any blasts. So everything in that chamber, except for the fungus, is now blast proof. The walls at the side, the floor across the bottom, the obsidian elements that you see in there, the doorway, they're all blast proof. TNT cannot damage those elements, which is really, really, really handy. And that means the only thing in that chamber that can be blasted is the fungus. And when parts break off it, you can see if any parts fly out to the side and hit the walls just push them down into the same channels that the ground does, so it all assembles. Now, we'll have it going up to a water elevator eventually, but at the moment, it's just going into hopper and chests. But once you've unlocked the TNT, we can press a button up here, and as you can see, the TNT drops down, and it blasts the fungus from the top there. And you can see, you can just hit it a couple of times, and there it goes. I could sit here and play with this all day. This is why I knew I wanted to do business with this. When I built the test version, I just spent ages just playing with it. There's just something satisfying about blowing these trees up all the time, or these fungus up all the time, and getting all the resources out of it. Yeah, probably the TNT knocks a couple of entities out and everything else in the process, but it's not just about efficiency sometimes. It's also about how much you're going to enjoy doing it. And you can see just the bits just fly off to the side there, and it just gets us loads and loads of drops out of it. But the other thing we've got here as well is, like you see, we've destroyed a couple of them, but there are a couple left, and we don't want to waste, though we can drop the TNT all the way down and fire it without it causing any damage. We don't want to waste the TNT, because TNT is an expensive thing. I'm not using duplication on this, so it is straight off. So we have a way there, you saw, of locking off the dispenser as well, so we only fire certain dispensers as well. It's another little handy function there. When we finish then blasting away, we can then hit the button at the top there, and as you'll see here, the planting blocks come back up, the water disappears from the bottom there, and it also locks the TNT and prevents us from firing any more TNT and accidentally blowing up the nylium at the bottom there. So we have a few little safety features in there as well. And then what I do is sometimes, if there's only a couple of blocks left, I come and axe them up as well, just to save on TNT. But we've cleared most of the stuff out of the way. So I thought I'd show you the redstone as well behind it here. So you can see the two buttons up there that activate it. They go onto a piston switch here. So we have a red block that's pushed between two pistons, depending on which button we press, which then sends a signal off to various different locations. One of the signals, you can see, drops down through these pistons. Now these slime blocks here with the pistons here is a way of being able to transport a signal from the top to the bottom there. As the piston extends, it drops the next one down, the red block hits the next piston, causes the next piston drop, and so forth until it hits the ground here. And then you come to these couple of circuits here. These are pulse circuits, so it takes a continuous signal into them. They're in reverse to each other, but it then sends a quick pulse out. That pulse then flows along this line to these target blocks here, using the new target blocks that are just coming in 116, that are then attached to some dispensers. There are water dispensers. That's how we turn the water on and off at the bottom there, across the bottom bit. In addition, there's a second line that comes here on one of the elements there that then powers the pistons to bring up the actual spawning blocks as well, the planting blocks. Back up the top here, the line also continues around to the light to turn the light on, and another line comes over the top here into this. This is an AND gate. So this requires two input signals before it will give out the final output signal. So one comes from the buttons over there. That's how we lock the mechanism down. The other one comes from our fire button. So it needs signals from both of them to show that it's actually clear to fire. If it only got one, it doesn't fire. These lines then go up to more AND gates, one for each of the dispensers, and the other side of the AND gate is actually tied in with our levers above that turn around and enable us to lock off the individual dispensers, that enable us to shut those down so that we can conserve TNT. It's pretty simple redstone, really. I mean, there are probably redstoners out there who sit there and go, yeah, this is really basic, Drac, and this is really, really basic. I mean, okay, it's not simple lever and switch, but it is, you know, we're using a few AND gates and everything else, but overall, it's pretty straightforward once you start getting into it. And I'm starting to learn more and more about redstone, and I'm enjoying playing around with redstone a lot more as well. This is only a bare bones, though. We will do more with this. We've got plans for automatic sorting systems and stuff with it, but at this point, it has functionality. And the other thing is, though, since we've reset the Nether, this means my railway line has vanished. So I've ended up going back into the Nether and rebuilding my railway line. This is only going to be temporary, though. We are going to build a Nether hub as a community. There's a few people like Gray and Lady Bex who are organising that and heading that up, and I'm sure a lot of us will get involved with that, with digging out the necessary blocks. But already, we've only been on the server a couple of days, but everyone's started digging their tunnels out, getting their links, linking back up their spawns and everything else. But for us, it was particularly important because now we had this blasting chamber for the fungus. We built this. This is our new shop. This is our third shop on the server. And you can see it's not far from our other ones. So just over there is Diamond Land, and then just at the back there we've got Doing You a Solid, which is our concrete and bric-a-brac store. But this one we're calling Fungi. Yes, fungi is in G-U-Y for the guy at the end there, but yes, it's a play on the words of fungus, and we're selling all our fungus elements. So I built the whole thing out of the new Nether blocks. The only things that aren't is the glass and the chest. Everything else is from the new blocks that are available from doing all your Nether blasting, and a few basalt elements as well. And then as you can see in there, we are selling a variety of the warp stems, the crimson stems, we've got Nether warp blocks, we've got the crimson roots, all that sort of stuff. We've got the shroom lights over on the other side there, which is really handy. We are the first shop to set up like this on the server. I'm really happy about that and hoping this sells well, because those things are really quite hard to get hold of, and that blasting chamber, I'm really proud of that we built that really quickly and we were able to get that into business very quickly before anyone else nabbed that business. And also, I thought I'd show off that we actually completed the railway line between the two sides. Now, I don't think people, we talked about this before, but I don't think people realise exactly how far out we are. So bear in mind the Nether is 1/8 the size of the overworld. And this, you get to see how long our actual train line takes us through the Nether to get from the spawn town through to our base. We are quite some distance. I think we're one of the furthest out. I think Gray also has his base is quite far out as well, but in a different direction. And Forge was also building some stuff right the way out near World Border and stuff like that. But there's not many of us out as far as this sort of thing. So we have, I thought I'd show this off. It also gives me a quick opportunity to talk about some future plans as well, because we're getting towards the end of the video here, but I thought I'd talk about a few things that we're doing in the future. So I do have plans for a few more farms. I think we'll probably do a gold farm and piglin trading. I know some of it's going to be nerfed a little bit in the next update, though not massively. But the important thing for me is actually the gravel. So they've got all these other things, and the Nether brick would be really nice to have, but the gravel is really what I want out of the piglin trade farm. And the reason being is because obviously we have the concrete business, so it would be silly not to take advantage of the gravel that gets produced from it. So we're going to probably produce those couple of farms in the next couple of episodes. Also, I want to build a Nether base. So I've now built in Nether Portals to some of our outposts, and I've connected them up here. You'll see some of the lines coming off the side here and portals off the side that lead to some of those outposts. There's one there just going off the left, plus a line I think that belongs to Mighty High is just underneath as well. And off to the right here you will see a portal that leads off to Fort Coral. Fort Coral, I should say, the correct one. But this goes straight ahead. We carry on in the chamber straight ahead. We get through to our main base here. But I want to build this into a proper sort of mini hub. So it's our little fortification out in the Nether itself, belonging to our empire. I thought that'd be a nice addition to put into there. But eventually we come over to here, and I thought I'd finish off the video with a quick tour, because I didn't have replay mod loaded up yet, or Optifine, when we first got into this. So for the end of the video, you might have noticed that we've done a lot of stuff either from the first person cam, or I've been using my camera account rather than using the replay mod to do some stuff. But I thought, well, as we've got the camera account out, this would be a good opportunity just to show an idea of the distances between the outposts and the actual base, and have an overlook of the whole base itself. So you can see there was Fort Poppy that we built, which is where our flower farm is, and also the IDV Jasmine, which is one of the first ships we built on the server. And then if we come in over the ocean here, you should eventually, in a second, and you'll see the distance that we fly when we have to go between the two places, you'll see this little bit of landmass starting to crop about just now with the actual villager farm that we built. And we've come so far. I mean, this is the 7th episode, but it's about week 7 basically for us, because we've been releasing every single week. And so this is week 7 for us being on the server, and how much we have built so far. It's just, I'm surprised by how much I managed to get built so far, and a few people comment on it about it as well on the servers, and like just rapid building, the amount of time I spent doing this. But I've been really enjoying myself. I've been really having good fun building all these things. I just love to construct and build, and I've still got a long way to go with this town. So you can see here, this is our village breeder here and everything else. One thing that we have done to this, especially as we are now running on lithium, so villagers are a little bit more efficient, is that we have actually completed this off. So we have got the villagers in there. We also have the zombies off to either side as well, to be able to actually bring their trade values down as well. Coming over here, you can see there's a little smiley face done in diorite just there. That was a little joke prank that was done by Lady Bex when she came over to visit us, when she got the cats as well at the same time. But also coming around here, you can obviously see we finished off our fox farm. I say fox farm, it's a sweet berry farm, it's powered by foxes, but yeah, that's all done there as well. That's now completely fully up to capacity. We've got the zombie farm here, we've got our new fungus blasting chamber there that we've got. Those things we've got to actually pretty up yet, they're still going to be done. Then we come to our tree farms. We've got the old fishing farm there as well, AFK fishing farm, which is now broken because of 1.16. I think you can still get fish from them, but that's about it. You can't get any treasures from them and everything else. They've mended it with the 1.16 update. And then we come up to obviously our brand new creeper farm as well, which is also going to form one of the towers. That it's the east tower on the side of our spire area. So that big circle in the middle there, that's where we're going to build the spire. We're going to build it up to build height eventually. But it's nice to start putting some extra elements in here. We are slowly getting to the point where I can start building the spire itself. It will be nice once we get to that point. But I am Draken. This has been the DrakenWerks. Thank you very much for joining us here. I'm sorry this episode hasn't got an awful lot in it. I thought we would have done a bit more building in the time. I would have loved to have done a bit more building, but I think we've still accomplished quite a bit. Have a good one. Bye.